close attention to this footage. A security camera sits across the street on East Iowa Avenue in St. Paul, Minnesota. It is just past midnight on Friday, February 22nd, 2013. Outside, snow is falling hard. The camera pans slowly left, then right, scanning the quiet street. Most of the neighborhood is dark and still, but one house is not. At 12:45 in the morning, a light comes on inside. Then it goes off. Around 1:15, the lights shift again, inside, then the driveway, then back inside. This pattern repeats through the early hours. At 4:15 in the morning, the inside light flickers on one more time, then goes dark for good. Around 2 in the morning, something else appears, a blurry shape near the driveway, a car, moving in an unusual way through the heavy snow. The footage is too grainy to make out details. But the car was there. Then, at 9:21 in the morning, a white Chevy Cobalt pulls out of the driveway and drives away. The camera catches it clearly, but it cannot show who is behind the wheel. That same car turns up at the Mall of America's West parking ramp at 9:45 in the morning. Coming from the west side of the escalators, it captures a couple, walking towards the exit of the mall. The videos show them leaving and heading towards the parking lot area. Then a white car approached. And we can't see who was driving the car or the license plate of the car. Due to the time and location of the camera, it's most likely as Kira's car. Kira's car left that morning, but not one single camera, not the neighbors, not the malls, not one, ever captured Kira walking out of that house. So where was she? Before we begin, if you are new here, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel, because this is a story you will want to follow all the way to the end. Stay with me. Before we talk about what happened, you need to know who Kira was. Kira Steger was born in Des Plaines, Illinois, and grew up in Wausau, Wisconsin. She graduated from DC Everest High School in 2001. By the time she was in her late 20s, she had built a life for herself in Minnesota, a career, a home, a routine she was proud of. She started out bartending. From there, she worked her way up, first to Wet Seal, then to a co-manager position at Delia's inside the Mall of America. She was the kind of person who showed up early, stayed late, and made the people around her want to do better. Her co-workers did not just respect her, they genuinely liked her. Kira had a philosophy she lived by, pura vida. It is a Costa Rican phrase that means pure life, a reminder to stay positive, keep moving forward, and not take a single day for granted. The people who knew her said that phrase described her perfectly. Outside of work, Kira kept life simple. She exercised regularly. She loved hardcover books. She was a New York Yankees fan and followed hockey. She had a dog named Cayman, who she adored. And every so often, she would gather her work family for a meal at Ruby Tuesday. Nothing fancy, just good food and good company. She also had a bigger dream. Kira wanted to become a teacher one day. She wanted to pour that same energy she gave her coworkers into a classroom full of kids. She had met her husband, Jeff, while bartending. To people on the outside, they looked like a normal couple. But according to court records, the marriage had been under serious strain for months. Separation had been discussed. Divorce had come up. Whatever was happening behind closed doors, Kira was still trying to hold things together. On the evening of February 21st, 2013, Kira told her coworker and close friend Jasmine that she was actually looking forward to that night. She and Jeff had plans, a real date night. She seemed hopeful. That was the last time Jasmine saw her. Thursday, February 21st, 2013 started like any other day for Kira. She finished her shift at Delia's and left the Mall of America with Jeff sometime around 6 in the evening. Security cameras inside the mall caught them together near an escalator, Jeff carrying a yellow bag, both of them heading toward the exit. Nothing about the footage looked unusual. They looked like any other couple wrapping up a regular evening. From the mall, they went to dinner, then bowling, a classic date night on paper. But underneath the surface, something was off. According to court records, Kira had been exchanging text messages with a man named Ryan throughout the evening. Ryan was someone she had grown close to, someone outside her marriage. Jeff, according to prosecutors, was aware that something was not right between them. Whether words were exchanged that night about it, investigators have not publicly confirmed. But the tension was there. They arrived home on East Iowa Avenue at around 10 in the evening. Their roommate, Matt, was still up. He saw them come in and settle in to watch a movie together. Nothing seemed wrong. No raised voices, no argument that he could hear. After a while, Matt headed downstairs to his own space and called it a night. The house went quiet. Then, at 11:44 at night, Kira sent a text message to Ryan. That was her last text, ever. After 11:44, Kira's phone went completely silent. No more messages sent, no calls made, no activity of any kind. For a woman who had been texting steadily throughout the evening, that silence was sudden and total. Two people were inside that house. The roommate was downstairs, the snow was falling outside, and somewhere between that last text and the first light of morning, something happened that no camera recorded and no witness saw. We do not know exactly what was said inside that house. We do not know if there was an argument, a confrontation, or a moment that simply spiraled out of control. Investigators have not publicly confirmed the exact sequence of events that took place after 11:44. What we do know is this: Kira never sent another message. She never made another call. And by the time the sun came up the next morning, she was gone. Not just from that house, but from the world. The date night that was supposed to be a fresh start, a quiet evening between two people trying to hold a marriage together, became the last night of Kira Steger's life. She was 30 years old, and somewhere in the hours between that final text and the morning light, the truth of what happened to her was buried, carefully, deliberately, and almost completely out of sight. Kira Steger had never missed a shift without calling, not once. So when she failed to show up for her 2 o'clock shift on Saturday, February 23rd, 2013, her coworkers noticed immediately. They tried calling her. No answer. They tried again. Still nothing. Her phone was not just going to voicemail. It was completely off. That was not like Kira. Her friend and coworker Jasmine kept trying. When she finally got through to someone, it was not Kira. It was Jeff. According to accounts from the investigation, Jeff was calm, unbothered. He offered a handful of explanations. The weather was bad, her phone battery had probably died. She sometimes went off on her own without telling anyone. Nothing to worry about, he suggested. She would turn up, but Jasmine was not convinced. Neither were the others who knew Kira well. A woman who lived by routine, who prided herself on reliability, who had never once disappeared without a word. That woman did not just vanish on a Saturday afternoon. Jeff eventually filed a missing person report with police. He also made a phone call to Kira's mother, Marcy. Before he said anything, he asked her, "Are you sitting down?" Marcy later described that moment as the instant she knew something was terribly wrong. A simple question, 4 words, and her world shifted. Police responded quickly. They went to the house on East Iowa Avenue and spoke with both Jeff and Matt. Their accounts of the previous evening were consistent. Date night, movie, nothing unusual. Jeff acknowledged that the marriage had been going through a rough patch, but he did not present it as anything serious. Investigators noted the information and moved on. An all-points bulletin was issued for Kira because she had last been connected to the Mall of America through her job at Delia's, and investigators made the mall their first major focus. At this point, police were still treating it as a missing person case. They were about to find out it was something far worse. On Monday, February 25th, 2013, investigators found Kira's white Chevy Cobalt. It was sitting in the west parking ramp at the Mall of America. A parking ticket tucked under the windshield showed it had been ticketed at 3:56 in the morning on February 23rd, just hours after Kira's phone went silent. On the outside of the car, investigators found blood smudges. On a nearby embankment, they found the trunk liner, removed and discarded. DNA testing later confirmed the blood belonged to Kira. Inside the car, they found divorce forms. They found personal belongings, but they did not find her phone. They did not find her ID, her bank cards, or her checkbook. The things a person would need to survive, to travel, to buy food, to access money, were all missing. This was no longer a missing person case. Detectives executed a search warrant on the house on East Iowa Avenue that same day. What they found inside changed everything. Investigators used luminol, a chemical that reacts to trace amounts of blood, even after cleaning. It lit up the bedroom. It lit up the hallway. It lit up the kitchen and the staircase. Across the box spring of the bed, forensic teams documented approximately 150 individual blood spatter spots. Furniture had been moved, the carpet had been vacuumed, and several of Jeff's sweatshirts had been recently washed, though no blood was detected on them after testing. Someone had cleaned that house, carefully and thoroughly. Then, on March 16th, Kira's grandfather, Norman, made a discovery that stopped investigators cold. While searching near Keller Lake, he found a bag. Inside it were a bloody pillow, a sports bra, a t-shirt, and a bath sponge. DNA testing confirmed they belonged to Kira. A few weeks later, in late March, Kira's driver's license was found nearby. These items had not ended up there by accident. The location, the contents, the condition, all of it pointed to someone who had tried to dispose of evidence and had not gone far enough. By this point, our investigators had a car moved in the middle of the night, a house scrubbed of blood, and a bag of Kira's belongings dumped near a lake. They had a timeline built from security cameras, parking tickets, and gas station receipts. And they had one name that kept appearing at the center of every single thread. But they still did not have Kira. We're just past the halfway point, and this case is about to take another turn. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time. Hit that button, and let's keep going. As the investigation widened, cell phone records pointed detectives toward a man named Ryan. They reached him while he was mid-drive to Colorado. Ryan was cooperative from the start. He confirmed that he and Kira had grown close, that there was a relationship outside her marriage. He told investigators the last time he had seen Kira in person was the Sunday before she disappeared. He answered every question they put to him. Then investigators checked his alibi, GPS data, credit card records, and cell tower pings all placed Ryan far from St. Paul on the night Kira went missing. He was cleared, but the phone records he helped unlock told their own story. According to court records, Kira had been texting Ryan not just during dinner on February 21st, but also after she and Jeff returned home that night. The messages continued right up until 11:44 at night. Then they stopped. Investigators turned back to the camera footage. Taxi company GPS records showed that a passenger had been dropped off 1 block from East Iowa Avenue at approximately 10:40 in the morning on February 22nd. The neighbor's security camera captured what happened next. A figure in a dark hoodie with a white design on the chest walking directly to the front door of the house. That same hoodie had already appeared on camera twice. A gas station footage from 2 in the morning showed a man in that exact sweatshirt filling up the Cobalt and heading toward Interstate 35 East. At 8 in the morning, the same man, same hoodie, returned to the gas station, bought more fuel, and withdrew cash from the ATM. The sweatshirt was later identified as a black Echo UNLT hoodie with a white chest design. According to prosecutors, the pattern told a clear story. The Cobalt was driven to the Mall of America to make it appear Kira had left home alive. A taxi was taken back to avoid being seen driving her car. Cash was used at every step to avoid leaving a card trail. It was, prosecutors argued, a carefully staged disappearance. Detectives brought Jeff in for formal questioning. He invoked his right to remain silent. On May 8, 2013, a worker from Upper River Services made a call to Ramsey County Dispatch. There was a body. It was underneath a wharf barge on the Mississippi River. Investigators responded and recovered the remains. Because of the time the body had spent in the water, decomposition was advanced. There was no clothing. Visual identification was not possible. Dental records were used to confirm what investigators had feared for months. It was Kira. She had been in that river since sometime in the winter. While her family had been searching, while her co-workers had been grieving, while investigators had been building their case, Kira had been there, beneath the surface, less than 10 miles from the house she had never been seen leaving. Ramsey County Chief Medical Examiner Dr. McGee conducted the autopsy. According to court records and testimony, he identified 3 distinct injuries on Kira's body. The first was a laceration on her forehead, 1 centimeter deep and 4 centimeters long, consistent with a sharp object. Dr. McGee testified it would have caused significant bleeding. The second was a broken left index finger. The break was consistent with hyperextension, the kind of injury that happens when a finger is forcefully bent backward during a physical struggle. The third injury was a V-shaped laceration between her nose and upper lip, with internal hemorrhaging beneath the skin. According to Dr. McGee's testimony, this type of injury is consistent with smothering, whether by hand or by a soft object such as a pillow. Stomach contents were also examined. Kira's last meal, sushi, fish, and nuts, consistent with dinner on the evening of February 21st, was still present in her stomach. Prosecutors used this to argue that death had occurred somewhere between midnight and 2 in the morning. Defense attorney Conrad argued that digestion rates vary too widely to pinpoint a specific window. The official cause of death was listed as homicidal violence. Due to the level of decomposition, the exact mechanism could not be conclusively determined. Investigators also noted what was not present. There were no signs of restraints. There was no damage consistent with fish or river wildlife. There were no loosened teeth. The injuries that were there told a story of a violent, close-contact struggle. And they pointed directly back to that house on East Iowa Avenue and to the hours after 11:44 at night. In September 2013, the case went to trial. Jury selection drew 54 prospective jurors. After the process was complete, 12 were seated, 8 men and 4 women. The trial ran for 9 days. Assistant Ramsey County Attorney Andrew Johnson led the prosecution. His argument was built on motive and evidence. According to prosecutors, Jeff had discovered the affair with Ryan and acted out of jealous rage. The marriage was already fracturing. Divorce forms had been found in the car. Johnson walked the jury through the full chain of evidence: the security camera footage, the DNA from the car and the bag, the taxi GPS records, and the black Echo UNLT sweatshirt that placed the same person at the gas station, the mall, and back at the front door of the house. Defense attorney John Conrad pushed back hard. He argued that the amount of blood found in the home was roughly equivalent to half a teaspoon. Not enough, he said, to prove a murder had taken place there. He pointed out that no one had directly witnessed anything. There was no confession, no murder weapon, no definitive cause of death. Conrad also raised the fact that a small bag of marijuana had been found in Kira's purse, appearing to suggest an alternative explanation for her disappearance. Kira's father, Jay, was direct in his response. He called it character assassination. Jeff Trevino did not take the stand. The defense called no witnesses. During deliberations, the jury sent a note to Judge Leonardo Castro. The note read, "Yes, those are all possible combinations." The full question the jury had been responding to has not been made public. On October 2, 2013, the jury returned its verdict: guilty of second-degree felony murder. The jury found that Kira had died during the commission of an assault. They did not find Trevino guilty of intentional first-degree murder. When the verdict was read, Trevino's family wept. Kira's family sat silent and still, the kind of stillness that comes not from relief, but from the long, exhausting wait of finally knowing. On November 25, 2013, Jeff Trevino stood before Judge Leonardo Castro for sentencing. The standard sentencing range for his conviction was 128 to 180 months. Judge Castro departed significantly upward from that range. He sentenced Trevino to 330 months in prison, 27 and a half years. The reason for the upward departure was specific. Trevino had stipulated, meaning he formally agreed, that his concealment of Kira's body had caused extreme anguish to her family. That acknowledgement became the aggravating factor that justified the longer sentence. Outside the courtroom, Kira's mother Marcy spoke quietly. She said she would probably be able to get a good night's sleep now. It was not a celebration. It was the exhale of a woman who had been holding her breath for nearly a year. Kira's father, Jay, was equally measured. He said the family would never have their daughter back, but that at least justice had been done. In 2015, but Trevino's legal team filed an appeal challenging the conviction on 4 separate grounds: jury instruction, sufficiency of the evidence, the predicate felony used to support the charge, and the length of the aggravated sentence. The appeal was denied on all 4 grounds. The sentence stood. Even after a conviction and a failed appeal, this case still carries unanswered questions. The exact sequence of Kira's injuries was never confirmed in court. Investigators know what the injuries were. They do not know the precise order in which they occurred. The exact time of death was never established. Prosecutors argued for a window between midnight and 2 in the morning on February 22nd. The defense challenged that window. No definitive time was ever set. How and where Kira's body entered the Mississippi River has never been publicly confirmed. That part of the night remains unknown. The specific question the jury sent to Judge Castro during deliberations has never been released. What they were asking, and why, remains sealed. Finally, the full contents of the digital evidence recovered during the investigation, including text messages and any search history, have not been made public. A man is in prison. A verdict was reached. but some of the most important details of that night on East Iowa Avenue may never be fully known. Kira Steger believed in pura vida, pure life. She believed in showing up, working hard, loving the people around her, and not wasting a single day. That was not just a phrase she liked, it was the way she actually lived. Mother Marcy has spoken about the particular pain of not knowing, the weeks and months of silence before Kira was found. That kind of loss does not follow a straight line. It circles back, it sits with you, and it changes the way you see the people you love. Kira's case also leaves behind lessons that are worth carrying forward. Telling a trusted person your location, especially when plans change, can matter more than we realize. It costs nothing and can change everything. Jasmine's decision to keep calling, to refuse to accept vague explanations, helped set the entire investigation in motion. Coworkers notice, friends notice. When something feels wrong, that instinct is worth acting on. The staging in this case, a car moved in the night, in cash used at every stop, a taxi taken to avoid a trail, looked almost invisible at first. But cameras, GPS records, and receipts told the truth anyway. When details do not add up, they are worth questioning. And Norman's search near Keller Lake, driven by a grandfather's refusal to stop looking, produced evidence that investigators had not yet found. Families searching alongside law enforcement can make a real difference. But more than any of that, remember Kira for who she was. A woman with a dog named Cayman, who she adored, a stack of hardcover books on her nightstand, a Yankees cap, a dream of standing in front of a classroom one day, a laugh that her coworkers still talk about. She was 30 years old. She had so much left to do. Pura vida, Kira. If this story moved you, please share it, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment below. What part of this case stayed with you the most? Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and look out for each other.